being inside, good morning everybody. I have a little technical problem because I had the Wi-Fi turned off and it springs on again. Because it probably detects the opportunity. I need to find a way to turn it off definitively for the live streams. Maybe there's a technical solution to that. So there's a reason I came in this morning, and maybe somebody who has already gone ahead and checked out the scriptures today can tell me why I came in this morning. So I'm going to show you the effect right now here while I'm here about this. You can see that the boat here is floating on the Sea of Galilee. That's the intended effect optically. People continue to marvel about the architecture here and the decoration, the art. It's interesting, all the different kinds of visitors, amazing. All the different backgrounds. So there's a wonderful line today in the first reading, an amazing line. Maybe every human being would like to have this said about them. All those human beings who are particularly strong, who have very, very significant roles, who are held in high regard in terms of their power, their wealth, their talent, the richness of their personality. You could just look for tops anywhere in music and in fame, in properties, in inventions, sports. And I don't know if you can guess what that line is in the first reading. I don't know, it touches my heart very deeply. I'm just looking for it right now. Now Moses himself, what mark has Moses left in history, you know? An amazing mark, an icon of liberator of his people, an icon of lawgiver. Well, God gave the law, but he was the human agent, or attributed as the human agent. So look at this line here. Now Moses himself was by far the meekest man on the face of the earth. And we're reading from the book of Numbers, chapter 12. I think that line itself would be an extraordinary line to remember, to ponder, to cherish in our hearts, to emulate. And one day in the public life of Jesus, who did such incredible wonders, who spoke in such a way that the people were astonished. And he said, "Learn from me." And we could learn many things from Jesus, but he said, "Learn from me, for I am meek and humble of heart." And that peaks on Calvary when he doesn't strike back, when he doesn't judge. He asks the Father to forgive them. This takes incredible meekness. Meekness as a virtue is not displayed when we complain, unless the manner of how we complain. If we complain with rebellion, hardness of heart, anger, throwing it in people's faces, their responsibility, that's not meekness, that's the opposite. What's the opposite of meekness? It's kind of an arrogance, a pride, self-righteousness, virtue signaling. It has a certain element that wants to hurt the other. Meekness, on the contrary, has an incredible tenderness in front of the other. Even of the wrongdoer, to be able to pray for your enemies. This is amazing. And it's amazing how needy we are and yet how proud we can act and carry ourselves. That's an extraordinary thing. What a contradiction. We're dust, and yet we act like dictators and despots. In the kitchen, I'm not just talking about people with guns and tanks and wars. The wars are everywhere. The elimination of the other, the hostility toward the other, the arrogance toward the other. Now Moses was the meekest man on the face of the earth. I'm fascinated by that line. And it says, now Moses himself was by far the meekest man on the face of the earth. Meekness is a virtue that matches or that is combined with strength, with power, with ability, with talent, with greatness. Because the person that has nothing, in a certain sense, has nothing to be meek about. But they could be meek also about their destitution. As many people, we're destitute. And then to be meek as destitute people is a possibility. These people want to come in. I just noticed them. I'll open this up for them. I'm dressed a bit informally due to the live stream. Good morning.
Good morning.
We're doing live stream here. Estamos en vivo. Ustedes están en vivo en todo el mundo ahorita. So the reason I came inside this morning wasn't for all the beauty of that window I showed you there, but here, because the gospel is here, is also really turns out to be a meek moment for Peter, but a moment of desperation. And this is today's gospel story. And he cries out, Lord, save me. It's not written here in the text, but the next line was, I perish. So I'm not sure if you could call it meekness, but he is crying out for help because he perishes. He's in danger of dying. And when we are in this stage of destitution, maybe the word then is, I don't know, there are different virtues that are involved. Meekness goes more together with when we are in power, when we're in charge. And here we have Jesus in charge of the storms, and yet his face is so gentle, so mild, not scolding, not punishing, not belittling, not shaming. A pillar of peace from his toes in the midst of the storm, the waters are calm. The way the artist has captured this is a wonderful. Maria Jesus Ortista Fernandez. And so Moses was being attacked by Aaron and Miriam, accused They were speaking against him. And that's a significant thing when you speak against a leader, because there's a lot involved and a lot implied. And maybe in the root of that, but I don't want to judge them, but maybe in the root of that, it would be a very human thing. There was envy, because Moses had a very special role. And sometimes the proud person can't stand that the other person is faithful, that the other person doesn't sin, that the other person doesn't hate, that the other person doesn't go into debauchery, get drunk, waste themselves on drugs, on trivialities that are nothing, that are wasting their time. And sometimes people are envious of those people who live a life of virtue, a life of fidelity, a life of following Jesus, a life of believing in God. There can be tremendous hostility and hatred. And that's seen in revolutions, it's seen in little revolutions inside the kitchen, inside the church, in schools and playgrounds, everywhere. There's some bug in our system that we want to destroy the person that's good. Envy is a very insidious weakness of the human spirit. This amazing work of Venetian glass, Murano glass, 160,000 pieces. Let's show you a little detail here so you can get closer to it. When you get up close and you're outside the context, you'd wonder what's going on here. With all the tones of color, all the mix of colors, then it has a fuller meaning when you withdraw a little and you see the whole context. Then if we go and look at the faces as well, they're amazing. A penny for your thoughts. So there's a tremendous amount of inspiration for us in these readings today. And Moses' meekness is probably the fruit of his proximity with God. Because when we're near God, then we become tamer, we become more realistic about who we are. We realize how our proportion in the world. We're not in charge of the world. We're gifted. So many gifts, the gift of life, the gift of a new day, the gift of people around us, the gift of all the supplies of technology and food that we eat that comes sometimes from very far away. So many people involved, so many gifts. And living in the presence of God, close to God's heart, is a great way to learn to become meek. So people, God bless you. Let's leave it like that for today. See you later, alligators.